I will actually sign off. Do you guys need me for anything?
No, we're good.
Or,
I don't
okay,
think so. Thank
awesome.
you very much.
Thank you
Yep,
so
not a
much.
problem.
Have a good night.
You too.
Thanks.
Yep. You should be good, Tina.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yep, thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, I'm gonna give you guys my number in case when I sign off, it deletes.
That's great.
Yeah. Keith, do you have a pen?
I do, but you know what? Oh, yeah. There you go, Jen.
Say this is you need a paper person sometimes.
Well, that's right, but it's going to be
All the
recorded
time.
too. So you want to send a message, I guess.
In case we need to.
It's my town cell phone number, so
Good,
anybody in
okay.
town can call me. If
All right,
anybody
well,
is
there you
more than
go.
welcome to call this number. So
There you go. Perfect.
and I want to make
Only
you
on
sure
town business.
exactly.
That's right.
It's area code 781
Mhm.
675 0394.
Thank you.
Yep, not a problem. Have a good night.
You too.
Thanks.
You too. Take care.
Bye.
So the stuff that you sent over, Jen, was I think that our page, that discrimination, harassment, grievance procedure page, is a mess.
It's kind of a yeah.
Very clunky. There's
Yeah.
a lot of, I understand the legal jargon, but I really like the way that Newton laid
Oh.
everything out. It's
like
very
apple
clear.
and oranges. Yeah.
It's, you know, if you fall into a certain category, this is what needs to happen. There's a link to the online form. There's a timeline, you know, I think about up to 48 hours or something to respond. I'm wondering if we can just poach that.
I know. I don't know. And I wonder because I feel like at that meeting with Dr. Goodkans, like a bazillion years ago now, he's kind of mentioned that I think he reached out to Newton and like talked to them about that. And maybe it just never got to the front burner this year.
Yeah, either that or he was looking at other pages on their site to try to replicate, but I couldn't even find a form. And I know that there is a form exists because I've heard people actually fill it
For
out
us in Needham.
for NPS. Yeah.
I did put the links to the form. There is a form. And there's
Yeah, you did a lot of good work, Jen. That document it looks like you spent hours
a lot of
plucking the
gibberish.
internet. Yeah. Well, no, I mean, it's all on one page. Oh, well, 4 pages, but it's all on one document. So
there's
actually,
there was the links to the form in 2 different places didn't work, but there is a form.
Oh, here. Yep. I see it.
And the form itself is not bad. It just, it's not so easy to get to.
It's not so easy to get to. So how did you know? Did you have to search around for it?
Yeah.
It should just be right on that page.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I don't like to admit that I have Newton envy, but that page is exactly what it should look like. And plus, having it in 6 different languages.
Yeah.
It's kind of awesome, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but this is good. I think you guys are right. I mean, you know, we have a good template to borrow from.
So the question is how do we approach this with them again?
With Newton or NPS?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, like, do we ask if like following up on that meeting, like if there's stuff that has happened that maybe we don't know about, or I don't know. I can't believe
yeah.
I can't believe the school year is just about to end.
Over. Yeah. I think that, yeah, because I think it sounded like Dan was taking the lead on that. So I think following up with him to see if anything ever came out of it. And then he has a direct line of communication to the Newton superintendent. Maybe if this piece of the policy, the procedure didn't make it to isn't within his purview right now, then maybe he can connect us with that person. And we can have a more, I mean, really, it would just be basically recreating, right?
I mean, I mean, I could totally, we can snatch this page up and then just swap text out. You know, but I think it does make sense to see if they're working on something like that already. But if not, I mean, it is copy and pasting.
I'm still having trouble finding that form. Jen, did you think there was anything with regards to the form that needed? Oh, here
I
it
don't
is.
remember anything being particularly bad, and actually I did not do a side by side between the Newton form and our form. That probably is worth doing, but
I mean, it's very, yeah, because it's very, the Needham one is name of your,
I
name of
can't drop the
reporter.
link in this.
It's
But you
name
know
of
what I could do?
reporter.
I could email it to you. Would that help? Right?
Yeah, I have it here.
Can you
Check
plop it
whether
in the
you are
chat? Because I'm still looking, Tina. I can't unless
It was,
oh
it's
sorry,
toward the
here it
bottom of
is.
that.
So
Right, is this the one?
it's in all caps, the
Here it
Needham
is.
bullying harassment incident form.
Yeah, it's a Google form.
I mean, it doesn't,
This is okay. It's got
it's
a few
basically
pages. It
just
must,
what's your
right?
name? Where check whether you are the target or the reporter. Check whether you are student, parent, staff member, administration, and then date of a report.
But then you click next too, Tina. So we could run through it and do a test
Okay, let's
to
see.
see what it looks like.
Yeah. Right, because it won't let me go to next.
No,
unless
it won't let you
I pull it
click
up.
next. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
you have to type in some made up stuff. I'm gonna pull up the other form too, the Newton one, just to see what the difference is.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's getting there.
So what happens when you click next?
So then it gives you information about the incident, right? Name of target of behavior, name of aggressor, alleged bully or harasser, date of incident, time when incident occurred, and then location. And then there's a next page too. So I'll just test right through it. Test. Update of incident today.
So the link to the Newton one is towards the bottom as well.
Yeah. Okay. Then it calls for witnesses. Yeah. So then there's so basically it's three pages essentially, and then the on the third page it calls for witnesses. Could always.
Yeah, so Newton's is about the same. It's in 2 pages. I don't know if there's any significant differences. One of the questions that I still have and that I think would be worth exploring with Dan or Mary or somebody at the schools is whether, because it seems like there's a very specific protocol put out there for bullying. It's like it's got its own thing, and I think that came because there was a whole bunch of legislation that got passed. I don't know how many years ago now, when this like across the state they became much more proactive on the bullying piece. And so it's like there's a bullying bucket, and then there seems to be a separate harassment discrimination bucket. And so I don't know if somebody calls up with, I don't know if you have to differentiate when you're making the complaint, but I don't know how different the process is between the two. But they do seem to have 2 different buckets. I don't know if that's intentionally or
Well,
not.
it looked like on, just on the Needham page that they were very specific about what bullying is versus harassment. So I'm wondering if it's a legal thing,
It probably is.
that they
Probably.
can't just, but there's got to be a way to, without having to go through all of that jargon. And again, I mean, it's hard for somebody who English is your first language to
Right.
Mhm.
figure that out. Is there a way to come up with a glossary of terms that makes it easier for people to go through the process and understand, okay, you know, what am I actually reporting? Because
Right.
we don't want to make it harder for people, right? Are they going
Right.
to come back and say, well, this sounds more like bullying than it does harassment? I mean, that's,
Well, and it's interesting
it's hard.
about that case where the parents made the complaint. They thought it was very racially focused at its heart, and then the school was like didn't think that. So like, I wonder what if, you know, if I'm a parent and I think, oh, this happened to my kid, I think it's this, and then the school can decide, oh no, we don't think it's that, we think it's this. Who gets to decide which?
who gets to decide, right?
what-
Yeah, and who's the
what are
arbitrator of,
consequences?
right, exactly. And
And
is
there
there
are
any,
reasons why.
and is there any, like, you know, like, what's the word that I'm looking for? Like in a kind of an arbitrator, right? God, I'm like drawing a blank on the word, but some like a third party that would be able to come in with like clean eyes and clean hands,
Yeah.
and you know. And I also noticed too that just to note that the form requires that you sign in with an email address. So I suppose you could use an anonymous email, but
Well, the Newton form actually, I'm just looking at the Newton form. There's actually one of the very first boxes is anonymity. So you
well,
can
that
choose.
makes a lot of sense.
I
Yep.
don't know if there's one on the Needham page. I prefer to remain completely anonymous and will not fill out my name. I understand that this severely limits the Newton Public Schools' ability to take action. I will indicate my name below, but I do not want anyone else to know my identity in relation to this matter. I'm a staff member reporting on allegation or suspicion of civil rights discrimination of a student. I understand that I cannot make an anonymous report. I think that we need to put something like that in there.
Definitely.
You
Yep.
know what? It's interesting though, because can you do this if you didn't put it in an email?
Say that
I-
again, Jen.
So like if I'm thinking, you know, so when I pull up either form,
Yep.
it comes up with, I guess maybe it's signing me in through Google because that's what I'm using.
That's correct.
It's got my
Yep.
Google email on it.
Yep.
If I didn't want to have my email in there.
You don't have to. Yeah. So in Google Forms, at least, there's a option to not require an email address. And most of the time when they do this, when they require an email address, I mean, I assume it's so they can contact you also, right? In
Right,
case you don't enter any contact information. But it's also for if you start to fill out the form and then you disconnect, you can go back because it's kind of saved under your email address.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. And so if you wanted to go back and I actually I didn't see a place for it to edit it. So because in some cases you can actually if it requires a email sign in and you submit a report that you can actually go back and edit it, but I didn't see that option as I just submitted this test. So it must just be that they have it turned on to require an email address, which you can definitely turn off. In
Okay.
Google Forms, at least. Yeah.
So yeah, I wonder if we can include, that probably has to go through town council, Chris
Oh.
Heath.
Yeah, that's so
Information
funny though,
about-
because it says that too, right? Right at it says reports may be known, but no disciplinary action will be taken. But it doesn't show you how to do it anonymously.
Yeah,
Like you have to be signed into an email.
so I think that's a question. And then, yeah, I do think that that is a big, I know, I'm sure there's a distinction between bullying and harassment, but we just have to figure out how do we communicate that so that people have a better understanding of what that means and make it easier for people to basically self-service themselves so that they're filling out the form correctly and there isn't a ton of back and forth. I mean, a lot of these
Yeah,
things,
right, exactly.
because of, you know, it gets frustrating. You're already upset because you have to go through this process already somebody that you care about has been affected. So I feel like that would add a layer of frustration for folks.
Well, it's
that-
interesting now that I'm thinking about it, the Needham form says it's for bullying and harassment. So I guess people would fill out one form whether they thought it was one or the other. But I'm curious what the school does with that and how different the processes and the rights might be between those two systems. Like, is there an incentive for the school to use one process over another, even if it's just like reporting, like,
Yeah.
and maybe I'm like just being sinister, but like, is there a reason why maybe you wouldn't want to call it a racial harassment issue because that is going to have more fire to it than a bullying? I don't know.
Yep.
For like public information reasons, or
Yeah, or even do they handle, if something is categorized as bullying versus harassment, are they handled differently?
right. I gotta look back because the bullying stuff is pretty specific.
It would also be, I mean, this would be very difficult. But maybe, is Dennis? Dennis, if you can hear us. If anybody knows of anybody that's actually gone through the process of filling out the form, what is their feedback?
Yeah, actually I'm putting in, so, okay, so I think, first of all, is for the, so the form is to initiate the process, right?
Yes.
The form is to try to initiate the process. So if that's the case, right, so you cannot be anonymous on this, actually. But it's like, if you submit information, people will start to how this used. I think that should be declared like in the description part. People has to be understanding the processes of how this information will be used down the road. But like for investigation purpose, everything is private, and you are not going to share that with others, and only with even with the counterparty you're complaining about. But we cannot keep them anonymous. Like when they file it, if they don't have put their in contact info, we cannot even know if this is totally made up, or is something else.
Right. Do you know anybody that's filled out the form, and if it's what the feedback is on it? Has it been?
I think, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so I know like a problem like when they started. So the school process is slightly different. So they submit something which is a complaint or a form to initiate an investigation. I think that a complaint form initiate the investigation, and after the investigation they will decide if it qualified as a bullying event or not. If it's a bullying event, then there will be consequences after that being taken for the kids under investigation, maybe suspension, maybe exile, maybe something else, depending on the situation. And also that data will be submitted to the state database for monitoring. I think right now they also expanded the criteria. As long as they are doing investigation, they'll submit the data to the state. So that's the difference between complaint form versus actually is a bullying or not. So they do not so for the form itself, right, it's a complaint form about something, and whether it's a harassment or bully, that's a question of the extent, like whether how serious it is, right? So that's something different. So that, yeah, so I don't know if this helps, but basically it's like, so what we're talking about is like they submit common form to the Human Rights Committee, or they submit it directly to school.
So the form that we're looking at right now would go directly to the school. The school has their own form.
Okay, so each school has a different channel for that form.
Yeah, that's different from ours.
Okay, so
And I'm not really sure where it goes, to be honest with you. I'm not sure who receives the
This-
form.
The form
yeah, I
for
think
the
each
meeting?
school,
The
yeah, I
school
think each
one.
school has a different contact person handling this type of stuff. I would say probably assistant principal minimum, maybe even the principal handling this. I'm not sure, but it's like, if so. So are we trying to create a centralized process for this?
We're trying to create a centralized process so we're trying to do a few things. Centralize the process, right? Make sure that the process is clear and concise so that people understand what they are required to provide as far as information, potential
Right.
identity,
Okay.
sort of facts about what happened. And then we would also like to, and make language clearer. So one of the things we've been talking about, what's bullying versus harassment. And then eventually, once we get all of that hammered out, we've been talking about translating this into several key languages to make the process easier for folks who, for which English is not their first language.
Can I make one suggestion too, Tina? Because I think, I mean, I would love to like we said, hear from Dr. Gudikants to see if any progress was made on updating what they're presenting. But
Yeah,
I don't see that. I can't imagine. There's no technical reason I can think of that wouldn't prohibit us from like saying, okay, you don't have to know anything else except go to the Needham Human Rights Committee webpage, and here is the start of this form. And if having it be a multi-page form, you could say the first thing is this, did this happen in a school or whatever, and you could send them out to the school one, right? And they could still have their in-house thing. But if we can work to have those things as synced up as possible, and I think that, I mean, it's great to have it as many places, but I think, if the idea is to get this out and get it in a position where it's really easy to make sure that we're telling everybody, having it being in one place, not like it's, as opposed to say, well, if it happened, because you're going to have to advertise. Oh, if it happened in school, go to the Needham public school ones. If it didn't happen in school, go to ours. We should really focus on just everything comes here. And then when you answer that first question, it branches you out wherever you're supposed to go.
I think that's a great idea.
Who's monitoring this, by the way?
I don't know.
Okay, so if look, so if we are submitting this for the school, right? So essentially, it's like centralize a portal with the same link for the same link on the same link for each school, right? And when they come in, it come into one form so that they can monitor. Then all the relative contacts of each school should have access to this portal, basically.
That's right.
Right, basically a form of this. So basically, for example, maybe there's a major one person like monitor this on daily basis. If something happens for you related to each school, and she can forward this directly to that person of that school, so that a person can get into contact with whoever sent that form, right?
Yeah.
And then they will kick off the process after that with that school, particularly. Then it's like it's like for the form itself, we know that this is kind of distributed through the right channel to the right person at that school for investigation purpose or whatever.
So that might be a question for Mary Lammy, just the process of what does that look like? So if I were to fill out the form,
Where does it go?
where does it go?
Yeah.
And what
Yeah,
how
see, I feel like there's
what
a way to
what
automate
happens?
that too. I feel like there's a way to do that in Google Forms where you can have it, like I said, if you answer that question, you could say, does it happen at school? And then it brings you the school form, and then it says like which school, And then from there, it branches you off to where you're supposed
Yep.
to go. Google Forms is widely used. So I bet you there's all kinds of little things like this that we can turn on. And the nice thing is it looks like the schools are trying to use it anyway. They're using it anyways, right?
Yeah.
They might have the same form actually. This is just
Yep.
differentiated between the school thing. It's like
Right.
it's a one data field talking about like where this incident happens.
Yep.
Right. So it's
Yeah,
a
right,
multi-choice.
exactly.
It's a multi-choice question for them to answer actually, and even without filling out the form, because the filling out the complaint form or regardless, I think that's a kind of a follow-up step from operation side, because we want to be able to know what happens, so to centralize that incident data into first to start it, initiate it.
Oh, that's a
And
good
then
idea, Dennis. I hear what you're saying.
whatever solution behind this is depending, it's like a constant, it depending on the investigation or compliance forms or whatever, like the school staff get in touch with that parent and talk through the whole thing, and then maybe write something back,
So are
email.
are you guys saying that we should be more clear or upfront about what the process is and where things go?
Yeah, actually, so for
Almost like a
example,
map.
if the title maybe is something like discrimination complaining form or something like that, and under the form there will be a description section. So describe the purpose of this form and what the process will look like after you submit it and how this data will be used. And by writing this, spell this out clearly, and the people whoever put in information will knowing that okay, this information will be kept confidential, and we're like whoever submit the form would not be disclosed to the public whatsoever. So that's with like get their comfort, like doing this, be more open, like speaking up, right? So and then also understand like what's the process down the road after submitting the form. So who's for how long he or she will be contacted by who, and discussing this matter, and if nobody discuss about this, and what's your process, it's like you should send an email directly to who, and then regardless, and to mention about this and just try to get a feedback or speed up the process. So things like that. It's a really
I think setting expectations, just very similar to what we're trying to do, you guys.
kind of yes.
The discrimination complaint process is important.
That's right. So you want to tell people like how this is going to work, like what's the expectation on timeline, all the process, what will happen after you submit the form. Tell me a little bit about this, because they probably want to know, because it's kind of private. They don't know if sharing the data is going to make it worse or make it better. So that's something like kind of ease their stress.
And I think tracking it too, right? Sorry to jump in, Tita, but like the idea of being able to track, because like all this, like no matter how tidy we get, all the forms, and if it's school or not, and if it ends up at the right school, if you have to reach out to somebody with your email or call them, then it defeats like a whole chunk of it. Yes, exactly, right? So there needs to be some tracking that should be built into it, you would expect, so that you could like kind of see like, oh, okay, it's been received by the assistant principal or whoever, right? And you can do that in a kind of a reasonably easy way.
So, but if somebody's making an anonymous report, how would the school know who to update about the progress on the complaint?
Well, I think that's part of the expectations, like the way very similar to what Newton laid out. If you want this to be completely anonymous, they're very clear about it. You choose your level of anonymity, but if you want complete anonymity, that is going to strictly restrict what can be done.
Yeah.
I think there's a different levels of privacy protection.
Yeah.
the anonymity, I'm sorry about my pronunciation. I can't pronounce this word.
That's
But
right.
anyway,
I can't
so
do that word either.
yeah, so basically it's like you want to keep it anonymous just to protect your own private information, but like some people has to know your identity for verification purpose, for example during the investigation, right? So for example, if let's say some high school kid, middle school kid just make up something and submit a form without disclosing their identity, this could be create a big trouble for the whoever is doing the work behind the scene. It's like they cannot verify whatever who
Right.
submitted all this stuff. It's essentially you lose the grounding for continue to actually initiate an investigation if needed, if something really bad, right? Sometimes if something really bad in the place, it has to be notified too. So if that's the case, you need some of that information
Right.
to for verification purpose. You do. It's just like
Yeah.
you file a police report. You have to put in all your contact info, and you have also put all the contact info of the person that you are complaining about. Even maybe not as much as you file a police report, but it's the same thing. So you have to provide
Yeah,
as
somebody
much
has to be the
evidence.
gatekeeper, right, Dennis?
Yeah,
So somebody has to be the gatekeeper of the information. If you and unless you, I guess that's what you're saying,
Yeah.
Tina, right? Unless
Yeah.
you set the expectation, like, listen, we can help in certain ways if you provide contact information. If you don't,
There's really only
then
so much we can do.
That's right. That's right. So
yeah.
during the form, during the Google form, you can choose like required or optional. So it's like we should define a minimum level of information required for this submission. If you cannot fill up all these forms, these fields, we cannot even start initiating anything.
Right.
So because of that, we do have this is the minimum level of information we needed if you're serious to start the process. Otherwise, we're not going to take it seriously at all.
Yeah.
Because we cannot. They are all necessary elements. Like if you don't provide it, then which means like you are not serious about it, right? So same thing. If you tell a place to say I'll file a report, but I'm not going to tell my name or my contact info, police officer will think that you are just messing up with him. It's
Right,
they are not gonna they're gonna even respond.
Yeah, see that's the balancing act, right? It's like you
Yeah,
want to
so,
protect
but-
people's identities, but somebody needs to know who you are if you actually expect a result.
Yeah, the people who are doing the investigation definitely need to know about your information, etc.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But like the so-called protection is protecting your privacy information not be disclosed to unrelated parties.
Okay, yep, that makes sense.
Yeah, so definitely not into the public either.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Yep.
So I think what we can do is like if we have a form from the school, so we can try to create a Google form draft like template, for example, out of that form, and then share and describe the process, how it look like, and then share that with some of the school, maybe Mary Lammy, just to say get some feedback on it. Is this something like okay to use or not? And then if that, because that's you will have something concrete like to share with them. It's like this is something we're trying to do. Do you think this is doable? And in that way, maybe this is easier to go through their thought. Is like, oh, what do you actually want to do? So that will make it easier to move forward. I can help with the Google form creation if you need it.
Yeah, so I think that we go over I think our form is missing some things.
Okay.
Are we talking about the Human Rights Committee form right now?
No, the school form that we're trying to muscle through.
Okay.
So I do think compared to Newton, as far as I was able to get without filling it all out, we should all sort of look at that and compare them side by side and figure out what we can pull from Newton to include in Needham. I think that we should present that quick chart, Jen, the one that's on the Newton page. That's basically, if you are a student, this is who you report to. There's a link to the online form, and this is the timeline for, I think that last column was time to respond or something like that.
Yeah, let me pull it up.
It was pretty clear about, 48 hours or something like that to respond.
Is that it?
So it's just like a quick thing that somebody can just look at and like, okay, I am a student, I'm a parent, I'm a staff member. It was pretty, I think that's a pretty comprehensive chart. And very easy to
Oh,
navigate.
quick reference.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
agree.
that'd be great, actually.
That
That
is real
chart,
quick.
I think that chart could be very helpful.
and then we need to get clarification on bullying versus harassment. And then also talk about, once we get all of that hammered out, sort of expectations so that people understand what they are. I mean, I think the other thing that people might be afraid of with regards to anonymity is retaliation.
Uh-huh.
You know, because if you have to provide the person or the party that committed the alleged act, they're going to find out about it, right? So, which it just came to mind, so I haven't really thought this through, but like, what does that look like? And what are some, you know, how does the school handle something like that?
You mean how to protect the
The person that's reporting.
from getting retaliated against?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's I think that that is a human problem. I don't think it's necessarily a process problem by itself, you know?
I think usually what you do is like to protect yourself from a retaliation, right? So they have to know their right. Whoever submit the form is have to know their right, and in case that they file retaliation, like whistleblower protection is like what they need to do for that too. So that's something like kind of should be spelled out
Yeah,
for.
I agree.
Yeah,
And
in
does
the
the school even have a
description,
process for that?
before they submit the form, maybe just a link, a separate link of that. So if like he needed, and also like anybody who submit the form will automatically get a copy of the form itself. So which means like they can see what it is submitted for down the road as a copy. So in that way, it's like they can track it down and keep that information if needed.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Having the ability to print out a copy of the submitted form is probably a good thing to have if you're reporting something, right?
Yeah,
So it doesn't just
Yeah.
go into the abyss and then you're just like
Yeah.
trying to have them dig through all their stuff, right?
The policies do talk about retaliation as being prohibited, obviously. There's when I went through what the process is based on what that discrimination and harassment grievance
grievance
procedure,
page, yeah.
I put in on that document I sent you guys and read the questions that I could not find answers to in what we have currently. And some of them are like, who has access to the information when you
Yep.
make that report, and how does the reporter know that the complaint was taken? It doesn't really say like the timeline of like when the subject of the complaint finds
Yep.
out about it. So some of those process questions, I think are there. I think it's like it does say that all parties have to get something in writing within 20 days of the complaint.
20 days.
I think so. They have 15 days from the report of the incident to start, is what it
But
looks like.
there should be something like the Newton one where they say 48 hours to at least just, I mean, I'm not saying, I don't think the Newton one is saying we're going to resolve this in 48 hours, but at least follow up. Initial contact within 48
Right.
hours.
Yeah, 48 business hours usually. Yeah, so like it doesn't count. Yeah. So I think that's like you should hear something like a feedback or follow up at the email within 48 hours on it.
Even just to say,
So
we
that's
received
reasonable.
this, and this is
Right.
who's,
Yes.
we
Yes.
received
yes.
this. We have, this is the, you know, this is who is now handling the case. You know, they have 15 or 20 days or whatever to,
Yes.
to conduct the investigation. And this
Exactly.
is their contact information. If you have any additional questions during that time period, during that period while the investigation is happening, But there should be
That's
something
right.
that's quick that just says, we got it. And this
And
is
maybe
what's
there is,
happening
but
now.
it's not listed in that policy.
Well, when I did talk to somebody who filled out the form last fall, she had to follow up on her own. And the answer she got was, we have 15 or 20 days, whatever, to get back to you on the investigation. But she was the one that reached
Right.
out and said, well, I filled this out, now what?
You know what? I'm still stuck on this like anonymity thing because, I mean, so they could have it set up where, because I think like where I'm getting hung up on is the idea that like, okay, I want to report this incident, and I'm super nervous because I don't want retaliation, and I don't really want my name out there to anybody outside of a tiny group of people that absolutely needs to know who I am. But so that's why they anonymize data, right? So like you could require whatever information you have, you need to be able to actually follow the complaint process to some kind of real resolution. But like as soon as you submit the data, you can have it be analyzed to a number, and then so anybody outside of this tiny circle of people who actually knows your name, you could just refer to it by whatever number
Like a
it's
case
assigned.
number.
Well, yeah, exactly, right? Like, I mean, because what I think that, no matter how careful no matter how much we explain it, and no matter how careful we'd like to pretend that, things get out, right? So if like you can try to cut it off at the very beginning of a process to say, okay, from this point on, this is the case number, this is all the information that you're going to need to be able to follow up, and then that case number can be associated with your name and information, but only by a tiny handful of, one person at each school, one person on the town, right, on the HRC, or just a handful of people. Like, I think adding some kind of anonymity to it
I wonder
is
for
certainly
practical
doable.
purposes, though, whether
What's
that
that, Jen?
I'm wondering, like, for practical purposes,
Yep.
if my job is to investigate and to talk to witnesses, and I'm saying
Oh yeah.
to Tina,
Shit.
can you
I guess
tell
you're
me
right.
what about,
Yeah.
happened to case number M5?
Right. Right.
It's like we could be
I
talking
just
to
feel like
third
there's gonna be
graders
some.
here.
I know. Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess you could only protect the identity so much when you actually have to investigate it. I just can imagine, if you're about to say something horrible that happened to you, that you'd be really scared. I mean, I would imagine most complaints don't come through for that exact reason, right? And so, like, is there any way to protect that? But it sounds like you can't investigate and protect, to the full
Think
extent
that's
that you're going to have to.
unfortunate reality is that, like,
Yeah.
that's why hate crimes go underreported all of the
Yep.
time.
Right.
Just in
Yeah.
school, but
I guess you're
everywhere.
right. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to get us off track. I'm just
No,
like,
no,
I'm getting hung up on it.
these things,
I
though.
think
It's good to
it's
think through
really
them.
important.
So do you guys agree with those follow-up steps?
So do you
Compare-
think that maybe, like, I imagine that they're all super busy right now. I don't know. Is it something that we try to go talk with Mary first to see?
I would talk to I would talk to Mary and I would talk to Dan. Even though Liz is our liaison, I'm not really sure how familiar she is with this particular piece of the pie.
Yeah.
She would probably end up going to those guys anyway.
Yeah.
So it just adds a layer of
Maybe,
additional communication.
although, you know what? Maybe we should ask her just to loop her in.
Mary.
Who do you think we should figure, who should we talk to first, maybe? And if she wants to be part of the meeting, just
Okay.
as courtesy.
Yeah. So we are going to compare the two forms. We're going to figure out if there is anything that's available with regards to setting expectations, timelines, going through some of the questions that you have, Jen, and read. The information may very well be out there, as you said, but it's not easy to find. We're going to figure out what the difference is between bullying and harassment, and do we need to come up with some sort of like glossary of terms? I do think that that's important for people. Was that it? Oh, and then let's look at the Newton quick. And see if, you know, what we like from that, what we don't like from that, and see if we could propose that as something to implement. And then where does this all live, right? I think you said, Keith, let's, you know, we could do a link to on HRC, but like where specifically on the
I mean, the
school
school the
site?
district does have their the landing site for like all things equity is on here somewhere. Hold on.
Yeah. Now, how do we get to this page?
But is it easy to
Department,
get to?
student support.
I mean, I think it is fairly easy,
Okay.
but maybe like maybe there's something.
Like, is it intuitive if you're looking for something, you know, like where would I don't know, where would I go?
Maybe there should be like a QR code or something that is available at the schools that you know, people could go right to it. I mean, I don't know. I think that communicating about it, period, is something that needs some attention.
I think because I started at the needham.k12.ma.us page, and it is right. It's made up. I'm not saying so. It's under equity, and oh no, I just lost it. Where is it? It's under equity department, student support services. Yeah. So it's I'm sorry. Yeah, this is what I mean. Yeah, it's there, but it's hard to find. But I mean, if you look in the middle of their page, they have, the most used. I mean, I'm sure they choose what comes on this little scroll bar here. It's not actually scrolling, but it shows student registration, nutrition services, online payments, transportation, technology, and digital learning. But you can most certainly plop one right there, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I don't see why it couldn't be,
right. Yeah.
right in front of your face, so you don't have to kind of go digging through these menus. Because I mean, the website there's a lot of content on here. Yep, dense. That's the way to say it exactly. Yeah, I mean, you know how it is too, right? If you're looking for something, in a kind of emergency situation here,
Yeah.
you could very easily get one or two clicks into this and just
Give up.
bail. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, this is probably a big enough thing to protect that it deserves. Right now there's 6 icons. We can make this I think they should be able to make this the 7th icon. At least we can suggest it, I suppose.
Yeah. Agreed.
Okay, so let me send out an initial, I'll text Liz to see what she thinks and who we should talk to. And then in the meantime, if we can sort of go over all of that other content stuff and figure out basically missing, fill in the missing gaps.
Mm.
And I can sort of present her with that. And then she'll say to me, well, these are the people you need to talk to. And then we can go from there.
It sounds
I
like
mean,
a
it would
good
be
next step.
amazing if we could start September with something that was like easily identifiable to be able to
Yeah,
talk to parents about or families about.
yeah, it would be great.
I don't know how realistic it is, but
I know.
that would be great.
That would be great, wouldn't it? Are you guys coming tomorrow?
Yes, I am planning on it.
Yep.
Okay, we're gonna try to, I was talking to Cynthia about this today, because there are gonna be several different tables. And I went through the presentation at the Real Coalition meeting last week. It would be nice to have diverse a diverse mix of folks. So, you know, HRC is not sitting all at one table.
Mhm.
If we can, I don't know how they're gonna do it. I think they just kind of have to figure out who shows up. So far 52 people have registered.
Oh, wow.
It's
Yeah.
great.
I mean, who knows if all 52 are gonna show up, but 52 have registered so far. But if we could just sort of spread ourselves out. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a good event.
That's awesome. That's
That's
great.
great. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Someone who was asking about an agenda. There was no, did I just miss was there an agenda or anything?
No,
Tina?
they
No,
haven't
okay.
sent one
That's
out.
all right. Okay.
They haven't sent one out, but it's gonna be a
Yep.
very interactive. It's basically what the CCO, the Courageous Conversations on Race group, the students and Joanne and Beth present to ninth graders to get them interested in that course.
Great.
So they're gonna make some modifications to it because we're short on time, but I think that's basically what they're gonna walk us through.
It's awesome.
I think it'll be good. So I'm gonna get in touch with Liz tomorrow.
Sounds good.
And then I will let you guys know what she says. And in the meantime, if we can just all do sort of our own homework and doing the comparing and contrasting and figure out those gaps, and then at least I'll have something a little bit more concrete to approach her or whoever contacts she gives me.
Yeah.
I do maybe think it might be doable, I know we're heading into summer, but that's also gonna be downtime for them, so to get them to start thinking about that. The school doesn't shut down completely, right? So
Yeah, no, for
maybe
sure.
we can make some decent headway over the next 3 months.
That sounds good.
That would be good. Dennis, do you have anything
That's great.
else?
No, I'm good. Let me know how I can help.
Okay, so Jen
That's
sent out
great,
that
Dennis.
document. If we could just, I think, go over the different forms, look at the that quick reference guide. And see, where we feel like improvements can be made. I think that's gonna be a really solid first step. And then I
That's
will
great.
let you know as soon as I hear from Liz, what her feedback is and who she feels like. She's very diplomatic about things, so.
Yeah. We need that.
Yeah, we do need that, but sometimes we don't need that, Jen.
I know, but I'm saying like, it's very,
Is it nuanced? Is that what
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like that word.
I feel like,
Yes.
I feel like when working with the schools, that if there's any room for people to feel like we're not trying to be team players,
Mhm.
that we quickly hit a wall. And I do really think that their intention is to do the right thing, so to
Yeah.
speak. And so, I don't know, in my opinion, sometimes that diplomacy can be good. I agree with you. Sometimes you need to throw bombs, but I feel like we probably will get more bang for our buck with some.
More bees with honey.
Yes, more bees with honey, correct.
That's what
We need as
agreed.
many bees as we can
That's
figure
right.
out at this point.
Exactly right.
Okay. So
That's great.
I will, as soon as I hear back from Liz, I'll let you guys know what she says.
Sounds good.
Okay.
That's great.
Thanks.
I had one other thing, but I don't know if it's only about a potential 2 dates for the Multicultural Festival. Should I just hold off until our next meeting? I was going to throw them on. I was going to just tell you guys at least.
Yeah, what are the?
2-minute update is that I managed to work with Principal Sycott to hammer down that the first Sunday in October, which this year is October 6th, or the third Sunday in October, which is October 20th, both work for them to host the Multicultural Festival at the high school in the cafeteria.
Okay.
And so I just wanted to throw those 2 dates out there so we can start to like mull over. I tried my hardest to weave in between, a very busy few months there, but so just so you guys can kind of mull it over a little bit too, maybe before our next meeting. But
My
those are the two dates
inclination
that
would
have been
be,
approved.
my inclination would be the 20th, unless we get a ton of work done this summer, which I think we can.
Yep.
Just to give us a little more time. And, so that's fine. But yeah, let's
Yeah,
definitely talk about that.
however you guys want to do. Yeah, that's great.
And then Jen, did I send you that thing about Michael Diener?
Yes, yes, and I still need to follow up with him.
It's fine. He is actually kind of excited. He said, I'm thrilled to be your second choice.
I don't know,
So he's very
he's
willing.
not a
ready, and
second
able.
choice at all.
I know, but I mean, I just said, I didn't even mention names. I just said, I think she hit a wall. There are some other things going on with the person that she was in contact with initially, and he knew exactly what I was talking about. So he said, I'm happy to help out in any way, shape or form. You know, if I'm not the right person, I certainly have a whole
Is
network
that
of
for
for-
the
for the
HRC?
migrant, for the border.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
oh,
for
excellent.
our-
Oh gosh, that's great. Yes, I know he does a ton of work. Oh,
the,
that's good to hear.
yeah, because he does all that pro bono work. So for
He
the.
sure
He's
does.
been to Rosie's place before, actually. I've met him. He worked with one
Oh,
of our
awesome.
guests before.
He's the
Oh, that's
chair of
great.
the Democratic Town Committee in Needham.
Yeah, he's very active. He's a good guy.
So that's your plan B. I'm not telling you that you have to use your plan B, but that is your plan B, and your plan B is very willing and able to help
Good.
out.
Good.
That's great.
I mean,
Well, this was a I think this
I
was-
don't, isn't he part of the task force or is he not?
I think he used to be. He's not, I don't think he is any longer.
Would it, I mean, I'm on like the task force listserv or something, I think, and it looked like from this month's agenda that they might be in some flux.
They're in some flux.
Yeah.
They're
So,
in some flux. They've got, it's not, yeah, I will just say that they're in some flux from what I've heard. And actually the suitcase stories, that's going to be, unfortunately, I will not be here, on June 20th. I think they're assisting with that, but that looks like it's coming more from Needham Community Council than it is from Immigration Task Force.
yeah.
I think Needham Community Council is going to try to feature some families that they've been assisting in relocating, maybe a family from Ukraine, and I'm not sure where else. But it sounds like they're actually taking the lead on this suitcase stories.
Great.
Okay. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thanks.
Okay.
Liz.
Thank you, guys. I will see you guys tomorrow night. And as soon as I hear back from Liz, I will update you.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
great.
you.
Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you.
I'll see you
Thanks
guys
for
tomorrow.
joining, Dennis.
Thanks,
Nice
Dennis.
to see you. Okay,
Bye.
bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.